by centering ourselves, we're actually being full and can support our families, maybe in a different way, but in this conversation, I'm thinking about the flip end of what decentering yourself looks like, right? Because and I think the centering, we're talking about centering ourselves as like in the racial justice context, right? Decentering means then falling into, or in many ways, the individualistic, capitalistic ways of thriving, which would mean that we would have to, in order to thrive, we only have to make X amount of money, or, completely make X amount of money, mostly in the capitalistic sense, or work in corporate jobs, or all these sorts of things about what a fulfilling life looks like. And, I think in that, part of that is like, that's decentering, choosing those options, which were not necessarily true to who, I would include myself, who I am. That would actually be decentering myself. And I think there's also this perspective too, like I've been thinking about like abundance lately, and that guilt aspect that comes from that capitalistic, individualistic narrative of, we would harm our families by not decentering ourselves. I think there's another option of, by centering ourselves, we're actually being full and can support our families, maybe in a different way, but also that there is, abundance, and like support looks like something maybe a little bit different, but maybe it doesn't fit that other realm of what society tells us it might look like. Yeah. So I think it's also this aspect of, like, in this racial justice world, like in this framework, that there's other possibilities out there. Yeah. And I think that's what has been really beneficial, at least to me, in thinking about how centering myself is actually better for myself and my community and my peers and those who live around me and my future as well.
Yeah. I think centering brings a lot more meaning into my life. Even thinking about like centering myself for care, right? It makes me think again about what kinds of devaluing have I picked up around all these systems of oppression around us. How have I fallen into this idea of like productivity?
Yeah.
And of all the people, Dede, I'm a very productive person, and I've been working on that because I realized that the notions of productivity, ambitiousness, achievement are actually not values I hold deep inside me, and that these external values have really decentered my well-being. And so I've been finding a lot more meaning in rest, in going slow, in not and not checking off checklists, right? And being like, I did not prioritize getting this one task done today. But instead, I listened to my body that is aching all over, instead. And by taking care of my body in a long-term way of like truly thinking my body not as a tool for work, but what I embody. It is what I move through in this universe. And it's something that's very precious and only get one body.
It's true. You are so right that our bodies are seen as tools for labor and all these aspects, and so we are forced many of the time to not care for it and to not center it or listen to it or be in tune with it at all.
We have to like work through, right?
That aching joint and just like power through in order to get this one thing done. And so much of the world operates on that, and that's really hard too, right?
Because it's the external pressure, and that's how a lot of us keep our paychecks coming.
Exactly.
But I'm wondering that fine line of like, if you are able, if you are in a place, if you have the privilege to have some gap between expectations of others from either work or family, and then what you could just like pass by doing, right? Like that gap. And like how much is it like you putting yourself to make that gap, like close that gap in a way where you're pushing yourself to work.
Yeah, I think that's an important framework to think about. Where are there opportunities to care for yourself? Because I think some of us with privilege may have more opportunities than others. And then I think that's where that communal care aspect comes in, because I think if you are in a position to create more gaps for people, right? I'm just thinking about employers, I'm thinking about teachers, any place that you have an opportunity to create create space for someone else to care for themselves better is going to lessen those external pressures that force us to just fall into the labor in order to support our livelihoods financially, because that is incredibly important.
A lot of the times I am my worst enemy. I'm the worst employer for myself, you know? And so I think that lots of people, you know, we're fighting against stereotype threat. We're trying to be better than what people think we can be. And that needs to be really balanced with our well-being of like, is this even sustainable? And is this a fight that we can even win? So,
and like, is it true? Right.
If it's not true.
Exactly. So just, I think for me, it's been like reminding myself that like, this is not true. The stereotype is not true at all. And so therefore it gives me permission to then choose myself and live my life, and not living it towards challenging that one particular stereotype that is actually harmful to me.
I think it takes a lot of time to build that strength and to have that wisdom like you to identify that untruth and have the narratives, have that grounded narrative to fight that so that we can center our own values and center ourselves.
I'm hearing like this aspect of understanding your own, or coming to your own values, as an important piece in this. I'm really hearing that. So I think maybe everyone can also figure out which values are important to them, because I think finding your inner values is really helpful in making these decisions and navigating, you know, decisions that will help you care for yourself. That's a value that's important to you, which we hope it is.